welcome to LaChance Encounters. We were just talking before we started how I've started every episode with all right, and I wasn't going to do it, and I did it.
And he still did it.
But I am here with Courtney Pantaleo.
Yes.
I've never actually heard the name out loud.
I know. It's rough. It is Pantaleo.
She was O'Connell until just a few months ago.
Yeah.
She gave her life away to a nice young gentleman named Joey.
My life, my last name.
But welcome, Courtney, to the pod. We just discovered that we had that like last week. So I'm excited to use those sound effects. But
Nice.
Courtney is from Summit Title. She handles most of my real estate closings. We've worked together many times. She's a huge asset to my business. And thanks for coming in.
Aw, well, thanks for the kind words.
So a lot of people, you guys in title are like the behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know your sales are business to business. You're
Yeah.
talking to real estate agents and loan officers, and that's how you get most of your business.
Yeah.
So what's a bird's eye view of what a title company does? Because a lot of people just have no idea. They just show up and sign that paperwork.
That is
the day they're
true.
moving in.
I get a lot of questions about what I do for work. But a bird's eye view, title companies were regulated by insurance. Like our whole job is to issue an owner's title insurance policy. And in order to do that, you need people that are going to perform a title search. So we have the abstractors that are in-house that once we get a new title order, so a purchase or a refinance, a new title order comes to us. And then we have people that do the title search. And essentially from there, once you do the title search, confirm that there are no title issues or that there are, and then we then take the necessary steps to rectify the issue.
What's a title issue? What would be an example of that?
A title issue, I mean, a classic one is an undischarged mortgage or a mortgage that wasn't a mortgage that wasn't properly discharged is probably the biggest one that we see.
So that means like, they didn't take it off the record, right?
Yeah, like kind of like what
in paperwork, it looks like there's still a mortgage on the property when there's not.
Exactly. And the person's like, I paid that off years ago. Kind of like when you pay off your car and you get the title in the mail for your car.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to get like a discharge for your mortgage. But that was not, I mean, I don't know what was going on in that was probably pre-08 where like God knows what was happening. But that's probably the most common one that we see. Another one is people think like when stuff is recorded, there are steps that you're supposed to take, but a lot of stuff can get recorded accidentally. So you'll have deeds recorded with no notary stamp on them, or like somebody signed off on the sale of their home and they were married, but their spouse didn't sign off on the sale of the home. And in New Hampshire, you need to do that, or else that spouse could come back and claim ownership to the property. So those are probably a few of the ones that I've seen the most. I mean, we've had some ones too where, I mean, I always tell people like insurance, yeah, because everyone's like, well, why do I need title insurance if you guys did the search already? People also make mistakes. Like that's why insurance is in place. So we actually had one where another title company had done the closing for this property. This property had essentially been passed down to like two owners prior to it making it to us for this third transaction. And the other company failed to notice that a whole lot of land that was supposed to be conveyed with the property had not been conveyed. So that happened twice. So we had to go back 2 owners ago to find the original owner to essentially sign off on the sale of that land. So that way the new buyer could get what they were under contract for and wanted. And this dude was an estranged alcoholic who was like extremely hard to track down. Perfect. The family was like, he's MIA. We don't know where he's been. And then other people involved were like, oh, well, if we're going to sign this, like we want to pay out for it. Like clearly you guys need this. And it was a whole dramatic thing. Like sometimes people are great and they're really cooperative. And sometimes, can I swear on here?
Yeah.
A-holes, assholes.
Yeah. You can say pretty much whatever you want.
All right. I won't get too vulgar.
I mean,
some people are assholes.
The only words that I don't want you to use are the words you're probably not going to use anyway.
Yeah, I know my boundaries.
I hope. So, yeah, I've been working really hard on doing a lot more social media content. But because of that, I've also been getting a lot more negative comments from random people in the world.
So we'll keep it PG.
No. You can say whatever you want about me, and anybody can actually. But one thing I keep hearing over and over again, sentiment about real estate agents, because there's a lot of people that think real estate agents are useless and we don't have a place in the world anymore. We're going to be replaced with AI very soon. I hear all this negative, but one of the things that I keep hearing in that conversation is, what do you need a real estate agent for? The title company does all the work.
Oh, so not true.
What does a title person need a real estate agent for?
So funny you say that, because I actually just had, before I came here, I got a referral from an agent that I work with, and it was like I don't know if they have like a long time friendship or something, but essentially this guy wants to do a private sale. He wants to buy a condo from his neighbor. And he called me and he was like, yep, like he's telling me all sorts of information that I don't really care about. I'm like, okay, do you guys have a purchase and sale agreement? And he goes, well, no, why would we need that? Like, I'm just buying it from my friend, cash. And I was like, you still need a purchase and sale. Like, we need that document filled out. There's a lot of things that go into it. So he's like, oh, all right, well, I don't know where to get one of those. And I was like, okay. So I basically called the agent that referred him to me and was like, why are you not working with this guy? Like, he clearly has no idea what he's doing. And as a title company, that's not art. Like, that's a legal obligation that you guys have in order to help someone fill out a purchase and sale is a legally binding document. So like, the title company's not going to take on that liability and walk you through it, because that's not our job. Our job's to, like I was saying earlier, perform a title search and issue insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's I think the general public really doesn't know what any of us do.
No.
They don't understand like what the behind the scenes actually is. Like, I mean, they see me doing stuff like this. Oh, he just sits in a room and chats with people all day. Like, I actually do have a job beyond trying to promote content for the internet. This is just how I market. One part of my job is marketing myself.
Yeah. Do you feel like you hear that from investors, or like what? Like, do you feel it?
It's disgruntled people who had never owned anything. I think that's where a lot of it comes from, and they view us as. Listen, I'm going to say that negative opinions on real estate agents are often very justified. There's a lot of people, you and I both know them.
There are some bad ones
who are in it just to get the paycheck.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't need money.
Right.
But I do enjoy helping people. And
I
do want them to succeed, and I genuinely am being truthful when I say that. And there's definitely people who only care about getting to the paycheck. And those people with something so important as housing, it's just such a bad. I mean, you want to scumbag some sales. The car's not going to ruin somebody's life for 30 years. You know what I mean? Go sell a car. But don't do it in real estate. But I think there's a lot of people that they blame us.
Yeah.
As being part of the problem,
right? Because
they see us taking money, getting
right.
paid well,
right?
For what we do, and that inflates the prices. And I think they want us to not exist because they think it's making it harder for them. When the reality is, the people those of us that actually care about our buyer clients are actually helping them get to homeownership, not hindering them. And there's a classic. I've been getting it for years. Oh, it must be a great time to be a real estate agent. Like. No, there's less sales than ever right now.
I mean,
the prices are higher.
Yeah.
But the sales have started going up. I'm lying, but even 6 months ago, we were still at a very low amount of transactions.
Totally.
And it's like we don't want the prices to keep going up. We just want to do more sales. I don't care. Like, I'll do 100.
Yeah. And it's all relative.
$100,000 sales and still be just as happy as, $10 million sales, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's all relative at the end of the day. We're New Hampshire. The only time where I could maybe say someone's justified in saying, like, it's good to be in real estate was probably 2020, where, I mean, you had people getting licensed and it was freaking chaos. But since then, the people that were in it for like the quick money are out because they've realized that it's actually a very challenging industry to pursue a full career in, because
I've said it
work
on
all the
so
time.
many times. Agents who have done well in that 2020, 2021 period where it was an easy job, which is still not easy, but easier.
Yeah.
They'll be like, hey, what are you doing? How are you still busy? And I'm like, I didn't treat people like shit in 2020. So now they're coming back and referring me.
You did a good job.
Or they did. It was too hard for them at the time.
Yeah.
And now they're back because it's a little easier on buyers.
Yeah.
But I treated them well.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't get anything in 2020, I treated them well at the time. So they come back and.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's for sure. Like when the times are good, everybody takes that easy money and forgets to do. And we're all guilty of it. I'm not saying I'm completely innocent on that, but.
You have your times, but I agree with you. The people that have stuck it out since then are also the ones that weren't so short-sighted. I think there were a lot of people that were super short-sighted, and they were just taking the business as it comes without remembering to also continue to prospect and build their network and stay connected to past clients. It was just like whatever's going on right now in this moment. And granted, it was probably difficult for some people to worry about prospecting and keeping in touch with certain clients because it was so busy.
You have 9 transactions going at the same time.
It's a lot.
It is very hard to go find new business.
It's a lot.
Have inside marketing people that work with you or something like that. But for sure. For me, it was just, I definitely stopped prospecting. I stopped marketing.
Yeah.
Because it was just,
it's too much.
Just coming at me nonstop.
Yeah.
But all those people that were coming to me, I treated them well. And I treated them well even if it was unlikely that they were going to buy at that time. And
right.
I think a lot of people were just like, hey, it's a waste of my time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep going after the easy stuff. And
that's a good point.
everyone remembers.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers that. So how do we get to that subject? Very quickly devolved into talking shit on bad real estate agents. This is what happened.
So easy.
It's so easy. I think
that is it. You asked why.
Without the microphones on, we'll be saying names. But.
We'll get the names out. You asked why people think or why real estate agents are necessary and like when title companies do what you guys do. Answer to that is no. And I do see, like you just said.
It's like also you guys have attorneys that could
we do
make a purchase and sales agreement.
Yeah.
It's just not the role that they've chosen.
Right.
And then the other thing I always get is like just hire an attorney. It's like, you know what, an attorney's going to charge you to fill out to make a purchase. They're not going to use the standard form that us as agents have.
It's so much
They're
more
going
expensive.
to write their own 20-page document like they do in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost you, 8 hours of that $200, $300 an hour.
I mean, to be honest, every situation is different, right? Like I would never write off an attorney because obviously they're very necessary, but I just don't think, I think some people get scared into using them, like especially if they're coming from a Massachusetts or a New York where it's an attorney state. They're like, oh, I have to have an attorney. And it's like, you don't. I mean, you definitely can, but if it's a straightforward sale and it's not a pretentious situation, then there's really no need to because you're just going to be wasting your money at that point because we'll do everything that needs to be done. I mean, everything can be done by a title company.
Yeah, I think if you have a real estate agent, a lender, and a title company, there are so many people looking at that transaction. Yeah. Plus you have your title insurance.
Yeah, you have your insurance.
Me as a realtor and me as a loan officer, there's errors and omissions insurance.
Right.
You're pretty well protected. I'd never tell anybody, definitely don't get an attorney.
Yeah.
You definitely, if you feel you need to. And there's been many transactions, well, I shouldn't say many, but a few where I've gone, this is over my head. You need to speak to an attorney.
Yeah, and that
and usually my
happens.
next call is you and say, hey, Courtney, can your attorneys help me through this?
Right.
Or do I need to go to somebody,
outside?
Somebody else?
And that's why that's another reason why I also push go with the title company because at the end of the day, you always have, as a buyer or seller, you can always hire an attorney at your own expense to represent your interest in the transaction. So you can work with Summit Title, and then if, God forbid, a situation arises where you do need an attorney, you can still get one. But save your money and don't jump to them right out of the gate because at the end of the day, a lot of attorneys that are, working in real estate closings, a lot of times they are, it's a smaller shop. They're outsourcing, they're abstracting. We have 40 people that work at our company because all we do is title. So when you don't have as many people, it's less efficient.
Yeah, I've worked with real estate attorneys that aren't title companies to do closings, and it is a much different, less efficient, longer, less pleasant for everybody process.
Less pleasant.
For sure. And it's not a knock on those attorneys.
I know.
It's just they're not set up to do it like you guys are. They don't have 40 people working under one umbrella.
Very different.
They're it's a different role, and I think I asked a question on Instagram and it actually went, on TikTok, and it went viral last week. I said, and I knew the answer. I knew I was going to get lots of answers on this. It was intentional.
Yeah.
But I said, does anybody else have a job where the general public thinks they know a lot more about it than you do? And of course, number one answer is teachers. Second was healthcare. Not surprising at all. I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
And then a lot of shit talk about realtors in
right.
there. I think that is an issue where, and it's in everything. It's not, I knew it wasn't specific to real estate, but people need to trust the professionals. And it's a title. If it's a title thing, I'm not trying to figure, and I don't know the answer. I've never been through it before. I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend I know. I'm going to call you. If you don't know the answer, you're going to go into your office and find out who does.
Right.
And I think in anything, and especially real estate, just trust the professionals. Let it go.
As people, it's also so difficult because as society progresses, there are a lot of, like we just said, not every realtor is the same. Not every loan officer is the same. Some people have very poor experiences in the past, and then people talk, and then everyone forms their opinions, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we can't trust realtors because Sally got screwed by her realtor 10 years ago because, So
but it's like there's bad mechanics, there's bad chefs, there's bad, or just not even bad, just make mistakes.
Exactly.
We're not gonna bat 1,000 all the time.
No, and you can't put a generalization on a whole community of people because you met a crappy car mechanic and all car mechanic. You have to find your people that you trust. I've been going to the same mechanic for 10 years. He's my guy. I would never go anywhere else because I trust him. But that's the same thing with our
Gill's
business.
Automotive on the west side of Manchester. I moved out of there and I still drive it back every time.
Where? What automotive?
Gill's.
I don't know if I've seen it.
Gill? Is it
on the
just Gill
west
or
side?
Gill's? Putnam Street.
Oh, okay.
Putnam in Dubuque?
Yep. Oh, wow. So that's really close to me.
Maybe right by CMC.
Yeah.
I was on Putnam. By the schools.
So random. I know. There are just so many random, commercial buildings there. Yeah.
But it always, they tell me I don't. They're like, oh, this is kind of bad, but you can live with it. I'm like, no,
okay.
I need my car to fix everything. But they're so used to people don't want to spend the money. I'm like,
that's
I'm
totally
spending
me.
the money.
I'm like, is my car going to fall apart when I leave here? He's like, no. I'm like, all right, then I don't need it.
You drive around for business. You need your car to be okay. Stop doing that. You're a little younger than me. I think I probably did that when I was your age too.
I just hate, nothing pisses me off more than spending obscene amounts of money on my car. Your car is just it's just throwing money away. It's a money pit. Yeah, it's awful.
But it's just I'd hate to not get a commission because my car broke down. I think that's my.
That is true.
Or just I shouldn't even say get a commission. Disappoint the client.
Well, I'm not that bad. If it needs to be fixed, obviously I'll fix it. But there was one time where my car, I literally was driving on the highway to Portsmouth. And I don't know what I ran over, but I ran over something. My tire blew out on the highway. So I had to pull over, and I was 45 minutes away from this closing, and I had to call AAA. Oh, it was disastrous. I felt so bad. So I was an hour late to the closing.
Yeah. It's those people are going through the most stressful thing they could possibly do.
I know.
Selling a house.
Yep.
For most people.
And they got the movers are all lined up, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you guys.
I went to see a comedian in Portland over the weekend on Friday, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And he ended up having travel issues. It was 2 hours late. And we ended up not even seeing him. They put on an alternative show at the time he was supposed to be on.
Yeah.
And then we saw that, and then we ended up taking off. But anyway, I was just I can relate so much to that feeling because he was trying to get there. Flight got delayed, rented a car, drove to another airport, had to rent a car at that airport, then drive to Port Lake. And I'm I can just relate to that so much of those times. It's you're running late.
Yeah.
And it's really important to everybody that's waiting there for you.
And that's when stuff goes
the
wrong.
Other day, I was so late for a showing, and I didn't realize it. I'm driving there, and I just happened to look at my GPS. I'm like, that arrival time's 45 minutes after I was supposed to be there.
Shut up.
And I look at my watch. I'm like, I'm supposed to be there. And
did you just mess up the time in your head?
My smoke alarms had gone off my house. They're hardwired. They don't have buttons on them.
Yeah.
They're apparently tied in with an alarm system.
Yeah.
That's not functioning.
Yeah.
So I can't turn them off by the alarm system panel because it doesn't have power going to it. Been in my house 3 years. I didn't realize this until I burnt some bacon or something in the oven. And so my kids crying because the smoke alarms are going off. I just had to kill the power. I just went and hit the main breaker because I didn't know what breaker.
No, nothing for you guys.
I mean, I just flipped it back on after it stopped, but I never reset the clock on the stove. And I had looked at that clock. I looked at that clock at some point as I was getting ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have plenty of time. I did some other stuff.
I can feel the anxiety. What'd you do?
I just, I can't remember exactly. I think we just rescheduled something and moved on to the next thing and then did it later. I don't know, but I had to jumble everything. And then the whole rest of my day was behind.
Yeah.
I had stuff scheduled. It was, of course, those things always happen.
Yeah.
It never happens when you only have one thing to go do.
No.
It's always when there's because it just screws up the rest of the day.
The whole day. Yeah, that's like a Friday closing, horror story. Your first closing is 30 minutes late, and then I'm scrambling
the days
to
that
make
the 31st falls on a Friday.
It's so horrible.
Closings.
Yeah, I remember when I started because it was COVID, so it was so busy, and I had a day like that where who knows what was happening, but I was so behind, and I was bombing back to Bedford for a closing. And I went in, and everyone's already seated at the table waiting for me, and I'm like, oh my god. So I probably clearly looked like I was frazzled. And the dudes signing, they were just they're like, don't even worry about explaining anything to us. Just hand us papers. We're going to flip and sign. And I was like, thank God, because I need to make up for lost time now.
Read those documents, though. We're not advocating not reading your documents. Yeah, that's so true.
I said read everything. They were very experienced. Don't worry.
Yeah. No,
they had bought a million houses.
In reality, most of the things you're signing, you're never changing anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's different. Some people are going to want to be walked through everything, and some people, every closing package when you're getting a loan is the same.
Yeah.
Minus the way that they say it, the lenders maybe is different from one to the next. It varies. I don't know why this took me so long to think of that word.
Why does everybody always want to close on that last day of the month? I've been in real estate 7 years and I don't.
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper?
Yeah. So for your...
the prepaid interest?
Yes.
Really? People are splitting that hair? Okay.
No, but it's more... I think it's the prepaid interest and first payment. It actually does make a big difference. Closing at the end of the month versus the first. I think it has to do...
But your first payment's going to come up much quicker because you're going to close at the beginning of the next...
No,
not the next day, but it ends up going
because your mortgage.
Funny, I should know this, right?
Well, not really.
I don't pay attention to it.
No,
much.
I mean I only because people. Well, I went through it with my house a couple years ago, and I remember we talked about it, and it was a pretty vast difference with the payment.
I just feel every time I have that conversation, it's it doesn't seem like that enough of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
not enough.
I guess if you have all the options in the world, okay, take the best one, but enough to work everything around.
I mean,
that
that's the thing.
Day is kind of doesn't make sense to me.
Most people don't
just
have.
Close when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Not worry about
the timing. You can't time it. I think, like you said, I think a lot of times people just have the flexibility, so people are
I have heard before I did mortgages and I was just a real estate agent. I had. Some lender was pushing me to get to close on a certain day because they wanted it on their books for a certain month.
And that's ridiculous.
I'm dude, it's not about you.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Close the loan when the people want to close the loan.
I mean, that's just the worst reasoning.
Yeah, right.
That makes me want to not listen to you more.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Anytime, any self-serving interest, I'm just
yeah.
We're in the wrong business for that.
Why would I care?
Yeah. Yeah, you just close when you close.
Yeah, that's super
weird. You'll get paid today or next week.
Yeah.
If you need the money this bad, then you should probably not be doing this.
I know.
If you've been in any amount of time and you desperately need the closing to happen, that's bad.
What about?
That concerns me because people start making decisions based on they need to put money in their bank account.
Yeah.
I hate that. New agent tip: save your money as soon as you can, so you never have to worry. Don't be broke.
You can definitely tell the people that operate with that urgency. Yeah. I mean, it's like in any sales role. You start. Just give off the desperation.
Yeah, I just think in our sales though, it's we have a higher level of responsibility. So,
I mean,
like,
you definitely, it's just,
know.
it becomes very personal. Like, it's very personal, but I mean, like, just in my closing this morning, um, my closing this morning.
Sorry, I'm doing
is-
hand signals.
Yeah, it
The
was a
camera will
secret
probably,
signal.
the audio will pick up Courtney laughing at me, but I was doing hands. The camera will probably be.
He needs some
now
water.
maybe we'll actually, because I talked about it, it'll actually be on the camera.
My closing this morning. I mean, it is personal, but I also like it's my pet peeve when, and I think only agents that just like are not doing the best at servicing their clients will use that as an excuse in a situation. But like today, we sent out the Alta for this closing like a week ago, and the realtor emails us last night and it's like, "Hey, my seller doesn't have a valid ID; it's expired." And we're like, "Whoa." So we're like trying to ask for a picture of it, or is there, the son is coming, does the son have power of attorney? We could have our attorneys do like an emergency review of the POA, switch the paperwork around. Can they go to the DMV and get like a paper license, like all these things? And this lady is like, absolutely not. We're not doing anything. It is what it is. You're going to have to figure it out. So I called her to try and talk about a solution. But the only thing was like, this is already like a very stressful sale and blah, blah, blah. It's a very hard time for them. And I'm like, I get it, but you're making it worse by not helping find a solution to it. Like, we don't want to burden our clients with anything by any means, but when something arises, you need to figure out a solution and not just, and also that's on you. Like, you should have made sure your client had a valid ID.
I'm such a solution-based operator that like sometimes it pisses people off because I never take a second to even be like
Dissect.
apologetic about the problem or like sympathetic or empathetic about the issue. I'm just like, what's the solution?
Right.
To me, that is the empathy. Me trying to solve the problem for you is me being caring.
Yeah.
But sometimes people want you to do that first, to just say, to just like,
right.
I never like, and it's another thing that happens is you get so used to stressful, difficult, hard situations that you don't react at all to them.
Yeah.
And people are like, they think you just don't care. It's like, no, I'm just used to it. Like, I care.
Just another day at the office.
But it's why we exist. If these problems didn't happen all the time, we wouldn't have jobs.
Well, and it's your job to be calm because when, in a situation like this, again, clearly this lady is like freaking out because she's refusing to go down any avenue to solve the issue and just immediately placing blame and saying, oh, we're not going to do anything about it.
Blame does nothing for anybody.
No. And again, you're not
I guess
servicing
unless
your
you're trying to
clients.
like negotiate a compensation or a reimbursement for something, then sometimes you do have to talk about whose fault something was.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like just blaming people for an issue is just like, just solve it.
Right.
Just solve it. We'll solve it together.
Right. And
I made a mistake. You made a mistake. I don't care. Just solve it.
And like explain why it's an issue. Like, would you want
Why is an expired ID an issue, though?
Would you
It
want to
still
buy a house from
proves-
somebody who cannot prove that they are a person?
But just because the date passed on the ID, does that mean they're not a person? I mean, the expiration date is arbitrary.
So here's the thing. It's notary's discretion. So with this whole thing, I was like, someone send me a picture of the ID. Because
so then you
if
can
this bad
decide
boy
if it looks
expired
legit.
4 years ago, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing that. Even, it's... And I told her that, but for some reason, everyone refused to send me a picture of the ID. So we had to wait till he got to the table. And it expired. So the thing, this man was elderly, so he had been in assisted living for the past year. You don't need an ID in assisted living.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, I get that. But again, guys, like if this is years past, like I can't notarize documents for someone or I can't verify their identity.
Well, especially if their picture looks different. I guess that would be maybe the biggest thing.
Picture looks
You've
different.
aged,
Or,
over 6
honestly,
years.
with old people, I get a little nervous because some of them are just not with it. So say I notarize documents for a seller, and then, seller's daughter comes out of the woodwork a year from now and goes, why did you let my dad sell this house? He wasn't in the right state of mind, and he didn't even have a valid ID to show you.
Not having a valid ID could be
Exactly.
evidence of not stable because they're
and I'm not doing as a notary, I'm obligated to make sure people have a valid ID, So... Anyway, so his ID expired November 29th. So, and again, given the situation, it's kind of, it is under discretion. I personally, as a notary, felt comfortable because his picture looked exactly the same. His signature was exactly the same as the ID. You had son and daughter there, like realtor known them for 30 years. Like, you know, it was a scenario, and sometimes that happens, but I would never, you know, people need to check with their clients beforehand because that can get, and that's with a lender. So if you're a buyer and you have an expired ID and you're getting financing, we have to tell your lender. Right. And your lender very well may say, no, we can't have you sign these documents if you don't have a valid ID, even if it expired 2 days ago.
Well, it's also very important because there's lots of fraud attempts, scam attempts going on. Very prevalent in New Hampshire right now.
Yeah.
One that I've been getting a lot is the classic, and it's become a classic thing, unfortunately, is I have this vacant land to sell.
Yes.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
And it's always like the person's name's like Joseph Jimmy, and you're like, nobody's named Joseph Jimmy, you know? And then the email address is
I was going to say an email
Joseph
like
Jimmy 75 80 60 72 at Gmail.
Crazy long, nothing makes sense.
And it's like, but yeah, they'll have this form will come in from some real estate website.
Yeah.
It'll have this obviously fake name, and then when if you actually do respond to them, then they're like, they give you the name, and it's the name of it is the real name of the owner of the lot. But every time they've owned that lot since like 1978. Yeah. And it'll be like an Irish name. And if you get this person on the phone, they have a clearly, you know, Indian, or I don't want to be, I'm not trying to be racist, but they're clearly an accent that doesn't match the name.
It's not a white person accent.
And that does happen. But it's you know, it's a sign.
Yeah.
And then but now I've just started. I just asked them, send me ID.
Yeah.
And can you get on a Zoom call with your ID handy?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then you never get a response after that. But I did hear, I don't know if you heard this, one of these in New Hampshire did actually get all the way through to the closing table.
Didn't find out till after.
Where
buyers are moving in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody sold a house they didn't own, got paid for it. Yeah. Buyers thought they owned a house. Do you know how that resolved?
I do not know how it resolved, but
good thing we did our homework on that before recording a podcast.
So I don't know how it resolved. It was mortifying to hear, and I really felt for them because it's scary. So we actually had one recently where one of our processors was a little sleuth, and we had a seller. So that with the cash, I signed with the buyer. He was buying this place, so he thought, cash to like flip it. And the seller was signing remotely. And oh my God, what was it? It was something with his. So when we have a seller sign remotely, there's like a whole ID verification process that they have to go through, KBA, knowledge assessment questions.
And there's a credit aspect I just learned too.
We actually did just have oh wait, yeah, that's
my transaction. Yeah.
I'm like, we just had this happen. Yeah, so there's a whole workup of stuff in the background to make sure the stuff doesn't like this doesn't happen. Because in this case, I forget what was off about this guy. But the processor in my office was like, I just am going to call him. And she was like, I called him and the voice sounded like almost robotic. She said something is off. So we decided to like fully look into it. I mean, it was kind of hilarious because like you had like the chief of operations like Googling stuff and like looking people up and finding phone numbers. And lo and behold, it was a total scam. And we found the real owner, called him, and he was like, I'm absolutely not selling my house. And we reached back out to the spammer, and then they disappeared. So thank God.
I got as far as signing a listing contract before I
that's not even bad. This thing was almost through.
Yeah,
the buyer wired in their money.
But I felt bad getting even to the listing contract.
Yeah.
I had a signed listing contract by a fraudulent person, and I was like, before I figured it out, and I was like, oh, that's scary. Like, I got this far. Even.
I know. But that's why you have to work with people people get pissed with us sometimes because of, situations like yours, it's crappy because I don't think it's spam, but the guy just doesn't have a credit report. Like if he was signing in person, we probably wouldn't have any issues.
Yeah.
But with signing remotely and you can't verify that stuff, you have to take precaution because it's one little thing. And if you don't look into it, that could be like your key to showing that this is actually spam. And then you have hundreds of thousands of dollars gone from the buyer.
Right. That one's been fun because they're in Turkey.
Yeah.
So
Making an appointment with the embassy.
We're only awake for like 3 of the same hours each day.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because of the time is such a difference.
Right,
so
right.
It's like in the morning I start like digging into that one. I'm like, oh, it's already 5 p.m. in Turkey.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
man, so.
Oh, that is brutal.
Yeah.
There's been no headway on that. Or he's working on hearing back from the embassy. I think that was the last email I saw.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it might be a hot minute.
I'm not going to dig too deep into an after transaction on
Yeah.
the pod.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So that was a lot of real estate talk. I want to ask you about I don't know much about this except that I've seen the fact that you do this or did this. You were a collegiate volleyball player.
Oh, yes.
What school did you go to?
University of Albany in New York.
So I know literally nothing about volleyball or college sports or college. Is that a big deal? What division is that?
I think it's like 1% of people go Division I.
That's Division I school. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. What was that experience like? I mean, like, I feel like I've never even known somebody that played competitive volleyball other than you.
Probably not around here, honestly.
Is it just not big in this area?
New England is like super behind in volleyball. That's actually so funny that you bring it up because I've gotten so used to like when I was like growing up, sports were my entire life. Like my existence revolved around playing college sport. And then I played my college sport at the Division I level, which was like my dream. And it is hard to do. And it was awesome. And then I graduated and I started working and I was like, oh, nobody gives a crap.
I care. I'm impressed.
So I love that you bring it up because for me, it was a huge part of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always impressed with anybody achieving something at a high level. And I took a risk there because I didn't know if it was Division I. You could have been like, oh, it was intramural. And I
played club.
All right, cool.
Which is also great. To each their own.
No, it's fine, but it's just not that impressive. It's better than... I take it back. Somebody that's playing even like rec volleyball is better than me at volleyball. But
volleyball, so it's not like, to give you a little backstory. I mean, we're like a huge basketball family. My parents both were on. My mom was on scholarship. My dad was a walk-on. Played Division I basketball for UNH. That's how they met. My mom's whole family. She's one of 13. They were like. A majority of them were basketball players. Dad's whole family was all basketball. So we grew up with that embedded in us. And I think it was not until I was in high school. So I played like competitive AAU. We played literally year round, crazy team. It was awesome. Basketball. Yeah. And then I think, like after like freshman year of high school, I forget what was going on, but someone was like, Courtney, you should just like try volleyball. And I think I was kind of like feeling a little burnt from basketball. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should just try volleyball. I had like cousins that played. It was fun. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I started playing it and found out I was kind of good at it. So then I really stuck with it. And then I had to make a decision what I wanted to play. So I decided to just go all in on volleyball. Because like I said, I loved basketball. I think it was a mix of burnout and I mean, Division I volleyball is very hard. Division I basketball is probably even more competitive. I mean, men's
it's got
crazy.
A lot of eyeballs on it.
Yeah, and women and basketball has it's been more prevalent, I think, for longer, where it's just there's more people that play it. There was no like feeder program for Bedford high school volleyball when I played. So after I graduated, my mom started coaching, like the younger girls to create that feeder program for high school volleyball. So now they have a really competitive team at Bedford, which is awesome. But there's still, I coached for like a year after I graduated college. There's still a long way to go around here. So anyway, so I ended up working my way up to a scholarship and I decided to go, Albany was my only offer for a scholarship. They honestly totally took a chance on me because I was very raw. It was basically just like pure athletic potential.
Were you a starter?
No. I was actually supposed to redshirt my freshman year, and then I ended up playing
I don't even know what redshirt means.
Redshirt is when you have a year where you're a practice player, so you can't play. So once you play a certain amount of games, your red shirt's broken. So my coach broke my red shirt. I played freshman year.
Sounds like joining a gang.
The red shirt gang.
Yeah.
It's not a very fun gang.
You're broken.
I had to sit. Yeah, it's you have to. I mean, yeah, it was not anything I wasn't used to. I was very used to working my way up in the stature of teams. So that's what I did there. And then we won the conference championship my senior year, which was awesome. And then we got our asses handed to us by Texas in NCAA first round.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was cool to play though.
Just to be there, that's that's amazing.
Yeah,
I think it's so hard. You lose sight when you start achieving stuff of like
how cool it is.
How much you did because you didn't get all the way to the thing you thought.
Yeah.
I was in like elementary school and middle school. I mean, I was convinced I was a college baseball player. Like that was like and I didn't even go to college.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it past freshman year playing baseball.
Shifted a little bit.
But like, you know, even just playing 1 year of high school baseball. It's more than most of the kids that start Little League, you know. It's not any great accomplishment, but it's, you know, and to get all the way to an NCAA tournament, I mean, that's unreal. What's it like going to school while you're in a program like that? It must be so hard to actually be a good student and a great athlete.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think like academics wise, our college was actually better than high school because like, I mean, it was similar, to be honest, because like you may have had a couple classes a day, whereas high school you're like in class for 6 hours a day, but then you're practicing for 3 hours. You have lift for an hour. You have treatment whereby junior year you're going into treatment before every practice, which is an hour of like going into the training room and basically preparing your body to be hurt yet again. Yeah. You have to warm up like the knees and the shoulders. I do that
I've been going to Stretch Lab in Bedford just to exist as a 41-year-old man.
Is that a thing? Stretch Lab?
Yeah, it's like it's similar to what they do with athletes with the stretching, like
no way.
Stretching you into position. I mean, I'm like the youngest person in there.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
great.
Client-wise.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people that have just probably been, you know, either recovering from injury or you know, just been sedentary for a long time.
Or like my dad and like there's no mobility there at all because he never stretches.
And I've gotten so much more flexible. It's an awesome place.
Yeah, it's good for you.
But like, yeah, I get like performing on that level athletically. I did MMA very briefly. I had one professional fight, and like I would go for a massage every week because my body was just so bad. I was training 3 hours a day easily after working a blue collar physical labor job too. So
like the repeated like pounding on your body is. But honestly,
you guys are jumping.
I was gonna say because like playing basketball, like I never. But then again, like I don't know. It's probably. I mean, we played a lot. Volleyball was different because it's like baseball in any sport where it's just like it's a repetitive motion, like the constant jumping and swinging. Like like my shoulder is literally permanently like just messed up, and like all of us that were hitters, our shoulders, if you look, like my right one is like way down here because it's so like loose compared to my left.
I had that same problem, and I had a personal trainer friend of mine go to town on me with this big long pole. Like he put me on the floor and just jammed this pole into like my armpit area. It was like just loosening all this stuff up. So he took a picture of me before, like I was like that with my shoulder, and then he took a picture of me after, and they were straight across.
Loosened it up.
I was like, that's.
Why would your shoulder be? Were you using one?
I was doing a lot of powerlifting at the time, and it must have been just
maybe you were just off balance.
One side.
Yeah.
I was the same personal trainer has told me I don't understand what the center of my own body is. Like I just everything I do off balance. Like if I lay down on a bench to bench press, I'm halfway off of it. Like everything I do.
Alex, that is not good.
That's just
you are going to hurt yourself.
This is why I didn't make it to the college baseball.
You are going to hurt yourself.
It's because I don't understand athletics properly. Yeah, and why I do always hurt myself when I work. I finally have gotten myself to the point where I can ease in. Lifting and just be like, I don't care how much weight is on the bar. You can't care at all. Yeah, it's just not worth it. And like you want to lift to like be healthy, but unless you're like really training for like a powerlifting competition, which again is like, you know, that's great. But if you want to not get injured, that powerlifting, like I mean, great to the people who do it and do it right and take care of their body and everything. But
Yeah.
for me, powerlifting was, all right, my goal is helped. I can lift more weight. My goal is now helped by ordering a Domino's pasta bread bowl after each lifting session. I am going to get strong. But I was the worst shape of my life. I would get winded bending over tie my shoes. I could deadlift 600 pounds. What's the point?
Yeah.
If I couldn't function, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a great conversation, Courtney. We're 45 minutes into this podcast.
Wow, look at us. We're
And that's
chatty
about
Cathy's.
45 was about where I wanted to cap these things.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that's good. But did you have anything you wanted to plug? Where do people find you? Summit Title?
Title?
When would somebody call you? I probably have other real estate agents listening to this, so go ahead and plug anything you want.
Well, anybody can call me at any time. So after you go under contract, you can reach out to the title company. Alex's lovely clients.
Summit Title Company.
Summit
Not
Title
the
Company.
Summit.
To Summit Title. We have our website, but really I was going to say I don't know if you can leave an email in the
I can probably add one to the edit.
Yeah, we can add it.
If you want me to do that.
Courtney at stscorp.com.
Yeah.
Call us for all of your title and closing needs. We'll hook you up.
Yeah, don't go to the one across the street here.
Definitely
no, just
not.
Just kidding. We're very friendly with them too.
Well, thank you for having me on. This was a fun conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming in.